Hey everybody, I'm Michael,
I'm Nora.
and this is Life Worth Living.
Today we are going to talk about marriage, motherhood, missions, and chronic illness.
And this is a big topic for us, so we're not quite sure how it's going to go.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are dealing with sicknesses and illnesses that aren't seen by people, and I think a lot of people struggle with it. And when you add that into a marriage, and then add that into ministry, and add that into parenting, it's pretty complex. And I think that people don't realize how many missionaries deal with it as well. Deal with chronic illnesses and sicknesses.
And did it help you when you found out that there were other missionaries that were on the field that were dealing with chronic illness?
Yes. I think it helped me even more so when I realized how many missionaries from biographies I had read growing up that I just admired, and the amazing things they did, when I realized that they had dealt with chronic illness, and it wasn't all go, go, go. They spent months in bed sometimes, and that really helped me a lot.
Yeah. I know that it's helped me, and knowing that there's other missionary husbands out there too, and
which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, misery, not misery.
Being married to you is such misery. I think people understand somewhat chronic illness. At least they have a concept of it. If they're not dealing with it themselves, they have know someone that is. Obviously, there's different levels of it as far as, how much people are able to function normally and things like that. But on a day-to-day basis, there's so much that has to be done in a house. And you have dishes and cooking and cleaning and laundry and kids, when you add kids into the mix, and everything. And Michael does most of that almost every day. I cook. That's about the extent. He cleans up after me. Because cleaning up as I cook takes so much more energy than just cooking.
She uses lots of pots and pans.
and on good days, I do good at cleaning up as I'm cooking.
And there's things that you adapt to as you're going through. And you find the things that can help her. Okay, if I can just keep the drying tray clean, it's a lot easier for her to
wash as I go.
And it's a lot easier for her to get up in the mornings if I bring her a cold cup of water and play music. It really helps you to play music.
Yeah.
And I feel like as you're going through these days, you're finding things that are easier to make each other's day. I mean, by me making her day easier, it makes my day easier.
Yeah. As you... I feel like you constantly are giving, obviously, because
that sounded totally selfish what I said.
No, I don't feel like that was selfish. That was just a fact. It's true. It goes both ways in a marriage.
Yeah.
When mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. But no, I think that's true as far as when because you're one flesh.
Yeah.
But as you're giving and doing so much, you're constantly you don't get very much sleep because you're up with the kids in the morning, and then you're working on studying and everything at night. How do you find ways to fill up? How do you find ways to just have your tank filled up, I guess, to put it in automobile terms, when you're constantly taking care of everything?
One thing that really helps me is going into town by myself.
Which doesn't happen much, because a lot of times he'll take Corban with him.
At least Corban, and sometimes he'll take Kezia. But when I do have the chance to go into my town by myself, I'll put a headphone in and I'll listen to a podcast, or I will listen to the Bible, or I will listen to preaching. And
you drive around. And
I'll sit in the air conditioning.
While we're here sweating away.
And it is a way for me to fill up, and obviously it does take a lot of prayer, marriage requires you to step up in any area of life. This is not what I thought would end up happening in marriage. Who would have thought when Nora and I started dating in college? Hey, you're gonna need to plan that a year into our marriage, you're gonna end up taking care of me with Lyme disease. How do you deal with not being able to do the things that you want to do? And there are many things that I'm doing. I know it's frustrating to her that she can't do the things
I think
she wants to do.
I've had to bed rest. Well, it's kind of just been a lot of my life, I guess, with being so tired and sick all the time. But then even bed rest was even more so when I was on bed rest. And I guess I just have to let go of things and not care, because there's so many things that, and I've not been perfect at it for sure, because like I get frustrated with myself because if the house isn't clean, or if I see something and I get so frustrated that it needs to get done and I can't do it myself, and so then I end up taking that frustration out.
Things can on both sides, if we're not careful, things can snowball.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Something that's just small, like, the trash hasn't been taken out, or there's dishes in the sink, or anything like that can just become...
Or not starting your day off with a cold glass of water. I mean, it's something as just as simple as that. When it comes to chronic illness on the mission field, what's the hardest thing you face?
I think that this is probably true of no matter where you're at, but I feel like a constant failure. Like that's something I'm constantly battling. Like I feel like...
You're not, but...
I know that. But I feel like there's so much that I want to be doing, and there's so much that I need to be doing, and there's so much that you could be doing if I had the strength to keep the house and keep the kids. And so it's a constant battle of feeling like I'm just constantly failing. Like there's just... I'm never living up to my expectations for myself.
I think with Nora especially, and knowing her, and any of her friends would say that Nora is a very project-oriented person. And she's always trying to find a project to tackle. And she's always trying to find new ideas, and she's always trying to get things done. And when she's got all of this going on up here, but a body that can't get all that done, it can be
extremely frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think anyone that deals with, major fatigue and chronic illnesses and things like that would understand that.
Moving on, as dealing with as parenting,
a lot of the responsibilities, the physical responsibilities, go to you.
Yeah, I change the diapers and I clean the mess. But when it comes to actually like sitting down with Corban and spending time with him and like playing with toys with Kezia and letting him play in the mud, Nora's definitely the more fun-loving parent. When I just look at the peanut butter smeared all over the face, and I'm thinking, like, I gotta clean that up now.
Because you're the one that ends up cleaning it up. Right. So, I mean, that makes sense. But it is a nice opportunity to, read books laying in bed. Or, the kids will come in the bed in the morning, and that's probably one of my favorite times of the day.
Corban is definitely a mama's boy. He is his mother's little boy. Kezia...
Yeah, she has you wrapped around her finger.
So that's my holdout. I'm like, all right.
But I do think that sometimes it's hard because and I think a factor that needs to be addressed here is social media, because there's, these expectations of what you should be as a wife and as a mom. You see all these people posting all these amazing things they're doing with their kids, and how, their 2-year-olds already learned how to read, and how they've, they've made all these crafts and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's bad. or that's wrong at all. It's great. But sometimes that can really, if you're not careful, you can see that, and you can just talk about feeling like a failure. You can feel, get down on yourself because you feel like you're not matching that person's, standard. And I think that the main thing is realizing that that person's standard, or that person's, what that person needs to do is not yours, and not taking on someone else's.
When you're struggling with failure problems, failure, feeling like a failure, issues, or discouragement, the worst thing you can do is go to social media. Yeah. Don't turn it off.
Just take a break.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible caregiver towards you. I don't know why. But like when the kids are sick, I'm great with them. But when he's sick, it is a constant battle to be sympathetic.
Okay, I gotta share this story.
Okay. Oh boy, I don't know what story you're talking about.
It's about a week ago?
I don't know what you're telling, so I have no idea.
No, when was I sick?
I don't
remember. When I was like unquestionably sick.
That was 2 weeks ago.
I threw up for the first time, and I don't know, there was just like this little bit of like happiness inside of me, because I was like, I am unquestionably sick. I get to lay back in bed. Because
you had the badge of honor that I threw up today.
Right. I'm like, it was just like, for today, I'm the sicker one.
And you know what was amazing about that though, was that I was having a good day that day.
Yeah, it's.
I woke up, I got the whole kitchen clean that morning, which was a lot for me.
And then I messed up and I walked outside and I didn't know. I'd noticed, but I didn't say anything about it. Wasn't good.
Marriage. Have you ever wished that you were the one that was dealing with chronic illness and not me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can't really dwell on it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe in times of weakness, yeah, I've had that
probably thought. Because you think, man, I could just get some sleep. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, probably.
I think probably now that people have watched, if you've watched this far, people are probably thinking, what in the world are they doing in the Solomon Islands if they're a complete disaster? So, yeah, why are we still here?
We made this decision with a lot of prayer, and we counted the cost. We thought about it. We prayed about it. We sought counsel, and we just could not get past the fact that God had made it clear that this was us. And we even would try to imagine our lives back in the States, and it did not, there was nothing that felt right about it.
I think when we first moved over, I think there's a lot of me, because of just some people had said things along this line, and it made me feel good, getting ready to leave. And so I kind of took that on as my own thought process. But we just need to take this step of obedience. We just need to go in faith, and then God will heal me. Do you feel like you had that kind of a mindset somewhat when we first moved? I feel like that was I don't know, there was that in the back of my head, but I also... Like a hope and prayer? There
was that hope and prayer, but I also had the understanding that this may not happen.
Yeah. I want to make very, very clear that if at any moment I say we need to go home, we'll be on the next plane home. Well, now there's no planes. But there's not even a sliver of Michael, keeping me here or pulling me here or anything. If anything, it's the opposite.
There's been days where we've wanted to go. And honestly, it's probably been more me saying that than Nora.
No, and there's definitely been days that I am tempted to just, okay, this is enough. I can't do it anymore. And I think everyone has those days. But I think that understanding, like I said earlier, understanding that we're not the only ones serving on the mission field that deal with health issues. Because I feel like sometimes you can it's very tempting to just be like, why are we even here? Because, it's how much ministry are we really getting done? And, there's a healthy couple could come and do so much more. But realizing that obviously God has called us here, but also that missionaries all around the world deal with medical issues and deal with health struggles, and understanding now what that looks like. Reading mission biographies, I think even growing up, I read about the health struggles that missionaries had, but until I've lived it, I'd never really realized that means that they were literally didn't get any ministry done for months. What we would consider ministry. And I don't think I've realized that.
So when it comes to ministry, what does dealing with ministry look like for you?
Not nearly as much as I would like. I think that I feel like it's maybe a little bit unique since we're not working with any coworkers. And so church days are very, very hard. And to be completely honest with you, there's a significant part of me that dreads them. Not because I dread church, not because I dread being able to spend time with our church people and teaching. I love the teaching. I love spending time with the kids. But because of how much it takes out of me. Because by the end of the day...
She's finished.
I am so beat. I am just so exhausted. And so I think there's also a part of, balancing and not letting my pride of I need to be doing something get in the way of also making sure and taking care of the health that I can take care of.
There's things that we do to combat the exhaustion that comes with Sunday. We do not have Sunday evening services. So when we come back from a Sunday afternoon, closing out our Sunday afternoon service, we pretty much just crash.
Yeah.
And then Monday is our family days, barring any emergency that we have with the church people. But we do not make any appointments with any ministry.
Well, and if I'm having an exceptionally hard day, because I normally teach the ladies class, Michael will take Sunday school and say, I'll just teach everyone. Right. And so I have that time off. And there's been times that I miss church because I just can't
or the
get
kids
out of
are
bed.
sick.
Or because the kids are sick.
It could be, sometimes it's maybe because the kids are sick, and the kids being sick just...
is extra
stress. extra stress. And the kids get sick quite a bit.
Yeah, which I think that's... kids, even Solomon Island kids get sick quite a bit.
The kids, I feel like the kids are sick here all the time.
But I think all of this, hopefully this kind of gives you a view into missionaries and health struggles. And I feel like by posting a video like this, it kind of opens us up a little bit to more criticism. And we've gotten, people that have said, what are you even doing there? Why are you there?
I think after we got back from the ovary.
Yeah. After my surgery, we had
a couple comments like, why don't you guys just come home where you can be safe? And you know what? That would be the easier decision.
Yeah. A few months ago, a friend of mine had posted on Facebook about a missionary, and she was posting about health struggles, and it was a missionary that I had just really, really admired since the time I was a young girl, and I loved reading her biographies and autobiographies and learning from her, and I had absolutely no recollection, as I was saying earlier, about not understanding, the health struggles that they went through, that she had been dealing with chronic health issues her whole life. And the last, I believe it's 20 years of her life, she spent literally just pretty much on a bed. Probably many of you know her, but her name's Amy Carmichael. If you've read anything about old mission biographies, you've heard about her. And she wrote this, and I thought it was neat. So, thou hast not that, my child, but thou hast me. And am not I alone enough for thee? I know it all, know how thy heart was set upon this joy which is not given yet. And well I know how through the wistful days thou walkest all the dear familiar ways, as unregarded as a breath of air, but there in love and longing always there. I know it all, but from thy briar shall blow a rose for others. If it were not so, I would have told thee. Come then, say to me, my Lord, my love, I am content with thee. I think that in my human reasoning and my human understanding, I've been tempted, and to be completely honest, I have been guilty of saying why, asking why, but almost like, God, why would you call us here? And why would you give me these health issues and all this, these weights and these burdens, when we could be doing so much more for you if you would just make me better? We could be, our ministry could flourish so much greater. We could be reaching so many more people. More people would get saved. And it's easy to start dwelling on the, God, if you'd only heal me, we could do all of this. And a while ago, I was reminded of the verse that no good thing will I withhold from them that walk uprightly. And it was very convicting to me, because as long as I'm walking uprightly, my health and what I think is good is not good for us right now. Because if it were good for us right now, God would have given it to us.
I think when it comes to me leading the home, taking care of her, the kids, the ministry here, I think it comes down to I'm not the one taking care of her. I might be here doing it, but in my own strength, I couldn't do this. And I couldn't be a husband, a wife.
You need sleep.
I need sleep. A husband, a dad, and a pastor, on a missionary pastor, on my own strength. It would be impossible. And honestly, I'll admit, there are days where I feel like I try to live on my own strength, and they are terrible. Going back to what Nora said about how we came to the field kind of with the hope that coming here, God would heal Nora. And we had heard people say that, oh, this missionary went to the field with the sickness and God healed them. God is completely capable of doing that. And we pray. We are praying that one day God would heal Nora. But I remember the words of Paul, where 3 times he asked God to remove the thorn that was in his flesh, and 3 times God said no, because God was using that so that others could see the power of Christ rest upon Paul. And we have seen ways where God has used this to affect others. And when that happens, it's encouraging. But it sure takes a lot of work to get there.
And I think, earlier on in that verse where he says, my grace is sufficient for thee, because I feel like it's not something where, it's just a one time, okay, we're going to keep going. It's day by day, every day. And, there's many times in a day, a lot of days, that it's just, okay, we can't do this anymore. What are we even doing here?
There's days where I cry. I mean, one day I just burst out in the tears after finishing the dishes.
And it's hard, but isn't our Savior worth it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's, is anything too much?
Even if we've come here and only seen one come to know Christ, it is 100% worth it. And
that's the whole message that our channel here on YouTube is trying to get across. Life worth living, and serving Jesus is a life worth living. And I think of the missionaries long ago that, I can't imagine the the criticism that they got for the things that they went through and the sacrifices that they made, and the danger that they put their lives in, and so many things that they opened themselves up to a lot of criticism. But a lot of them didn't even see any results.
Yeah.
They weren't able to see any results within their lifetime. And we've already been able to see some. Life is so short. We talk about it being a vapor in our intro video for this channel. Life is so short in the grand scheme of things. Eternity is forever. And so when you think about, when we think about how difficult things are, or, the sacrifices that we are making, they're really not sacrifices at all. It's, you say, oh, even if we weren't to see anyone get saved, or even if I spend most of my day in bed, or even if, even in the drudgery day-to-day dishes and diaper changes and everything, serving Jesus is always a life that's worth living.
Being able to go through this, and though it's a trial to actually, it's a struggle to actually come to this realization. And it's a battle every day to keep that realization in your mind. Yeah. But being able to do all this for Jesus is the best thing in the world. And at this point in time, would not trade it for anything.
Because through it, we're able to understand and know Christ better.
Yep. If this has been a vlog that you've kind of been able to look into our hearts and into our minds, and maybe it doesn't make sense.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense to us too.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll just try to pour out my heart, and Nora says, I have no idea what you just said. And
vice versa.
And vice versa. And sometimes I pour out my heart and I have no idea what I just said. But we want you to know that we understand there can be discouragement in ministry. There can be discouragement serving the Lord.
There's just discouragement in day-to-day life. And we understand that, there are a lot of people that are everyone has struggles,
right.
And there's a lot of people that are just barely making it day to day, and we're not anything special. We're not the only ones going through things like this.
There's people that have it a lot worse than us.
And, if we can be a blessing to you, or if we can be an encouragement to you, maybe you are dealing with health issues. And if we can just be a listening ear even, please reach out to us. We would love to try our best or point you in the direction of someone that can be.
If we don't know how to help, obviously we can't meet with you. But we have contacts all around the United States. We even have contacts in Australia who we trust can help. And we would be happy to point you in that direction.
So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, if you watched all the way to the end, because I know this is a long one. Mm-hmm. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, we post new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays of missions life, marriage, parenting life, and
every once in a while a bonus video here and there.
Yes. And just about a life worth living. So if you'd like to follow us, please subscribe, click the bell if you want to receive notifications.
And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It does help our channel.
And you have a wonderful day.
God bless.
What is up with your breath? Is that the garlic from the meal I made?
I don't know.
It reeks.
So they might smell it.
Yeah, they probably can.
Okay.
You should apologize first before we even start the video.
Okay. All right, here we go.